allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Madam Clerk, will you please call the roll tonight?
Trustee Bowen,
Present.
trustee Brewer,
Present.
trustee Cascarella,
Present.
trustee Mohica.
Here.
Clerk is present, treasurer Feedback,
Here.
supervisor Fletcher.
Here.
You have quorum.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. We have the agenda before us. Any additions or deletions? And a motion to approve. Yeah. Oh, Karen, did you have a change?
No.
Oh, for the consent or for the whole thing?
The consent. Okay.
Go ahead, Andrea.
I move to approve the agenda as presented.
And it's been seconded by Karen. Madam Clerk, will you please call or all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. Motion carries. In our packet, we have a lot of communications, a lot of updates. Encourage everybody to go through and read those. And if you do have any questions, you can ask about them later. I'm sure most of this will be covered probably during Brian's presentation this evening. Public comment. Anybody here in the audience to speak on any topic this evening? Seeing no one coming forward, we move down to the consent agenda. Mary.
Supervisor Fletcher, I would like to pull number 6 from the consent agenda, please.
Okay.
And I move to approve as adjusted.
Is there support?
Support.
There is support. Madam Clerk, will you please call the roll on approving the amended consent agenda with item 6 removed?
Clerk is yes, trustee Brewer,
Yes.
trustee Bowen,
Yes.
trustee Cascarella,
Yes.
trustee Mohica,
Yes.
treasurer Feedback,
Yes.
supervisor Fletcher.
Yes. Motion carries. Thank you, Madam Clerk. Now I move to the item pulled, item number 6, the local government approved for charitable gaming license for the Dove Area Pickleball Association. Mary.
I am uncomfortable having this item on our agenda with no documentation. I, as an elected public official, do not want to vote for and put my name on something with the Bureau of Election, or excuse me, Bureau of Lottery with no evidence. I'm sorry, but I'm not comfortable doing that. There's no documentation. They're 501c3 and we are attesting that they are.
And I know has been a topic before in the board when other organizations have come for the same support. We have said we just don't do that.
Yeah, is it possible to get the documentation that Mary requested and then revisit the issue?
The question
Is there no time to do that?
What's our time frame here?
Their event is on June 1st from what I'm told by Marcus, and on their flyer says, I think a Hail Mary opportunity to try and get this gaming license at this point.
So we wouldn't have.
We don't work again. Yeah.
No, we wouldn't have another one before
Yeah,
that.
no.
Okay, I know we've had other organizations do this. Did we review their documentation? Did we request it?
Our policy has been, we don't get in the business of certifying nonprofits. That's
That's up
not
to
our role. So we have
government.
chosen not to do that. And we have passed it on to the county, I think. And
Just a question, has anyone just quickly checked to see if the state attorney general does verify? Has anyone quickly checked just to see if they're already verified through the attorney general's office? That may answer some quick questions.
yeah, they have always, the state is requiring us to vouch for them that they are a legitimate charity and that they can do a raffle for. And we have, our policy has been, we don't want to get in the position of verifying whether or not somebody is a valid charity. Quite frankly, even if they are a 501c3, I know some very shady charities where the money doesn't get spent on anything good at all. So we have just always taken the position that we don't want to start picking and choosing on who's saying who's good and who's not, and then have it come back to this board. But obviously the pickleball group is a much different group. We work with them, so.
And I mean, this isn't that they're going to be using township property for any fundraising fund, is it?
I don't know where they're holding it. I didn't pay attention.
I mean, it doesn't jump out at me that they're using them.
On that flyer. Sorry.
I mean, that might be a distinguishing factor for us to consider reviewing our policy in the future. That's all I'm saying, but you don't know
Not off the top of my head, it's in the packet on
Okay.
their flyer that was included.
I think Marcus is on our meeting.
Yes, I'm here. Would you like for me to comment on the bird?
Sure.
It says it's adult.
Absolutely. First of all, I apologize for not being there, but yes, they are a 501c3. That application was made to the state for this. Now, their event is scheduled for Delta Mills Park, and they originally had the Kiwanis Club planning to do the 50-50 with the Kiwanis Club's license. However, the Kiwanis Club can only get 4 licenses a year and realized they could not get one. So therefore, the pickleball group applied, and that's one of the reasons why it was a late apply, to try to get a license just to hold a 50-50 raffle as part of their big event on June 1st.
Marcus, it begs the question, does the Kiwanis Club then use township property for any of their 4 events?
No, the Kiwanis Club, I think they currently meet at Royal Scott. It was just one of the collaborations, as you see from the flyer, the pickleball group is collaborating with Great Lakes Christian Colleges, a number of businesses in the township, a number of service organizations who are part of this. And at the time, the 50-50 was going to be handled by the Kiwanis Club.
A follow-up question, if I may, is have we approved any resolution then for the Kiwanis Club?
No, because their stuff is in Clinton County.
Pardon?
Their stuff is.
No, the Kiwanis Club would have been making the application or the request to the township. However, they're not able to use their license, so therefore that's why it's a pickleball group. Nothing has been approved for the Kiwanis Club in the past, and again, they meet down here with Royal Scott.
And we have to remember, the question isn't whether or not they're holding that on township property. The question is, the Lottery Bureau wants us to hold the state harmless. If the charity comes out and spends $1 on charity and $99 on themselves, then, and if somebody raises the question, they can say, well, the township vouched for them, so we gave them the license. It's the township job to, I guess, review if they were a valid charity. So they're placing us in a position that we have no knowledge. So that's why we have always declined to approve these. But I do say the pickleballers obviously is a group that got started to work in Delta with our pickleball fields and stuff. So I feel comfortable knowing that they are a good, valid organization and vouching for them. But we clearly are changing our policy where others will come and say, why don't you approve it for us too? Why are you making us jump through this hoop? Because some legitimate charities have clearly come to us, and we've just said it's our policy. We just don't do that because we have no way of knowing what they spend their money on. Any other questions?
I just would add for comment that they are registered with the Attorney General's office. In their charitable organization database, so.
It's May of 2023 is what I see.
And I think also,
Or it says the license expires 12/31/2024.
and their charter within that 501c3 is to provide for pickleball in Delta Township. So they're chartered to do their work in Delta Township.
In the past, the Supervisor Fletcher mentioned, we have pushed to the county, and with enough time, I don't think there's ever been problem getting through the county. Obviously, this is a compressed timeline, and
I personally don't understand why the state has this as a requirement.
Not only,
But if you say they're registered with the state attorney general, why do they need us to vouch for them as verify they're a legitimate charity?
which is registered.
I'm not calling into question the organization or their purpose or the fact that they're us. I'm calling into question. I don't vote for other things brought before this board with no documentation. And we have sent things back for the absence of documentation. And I don't think it passes the smell test for us to say, oh, because they're associated with us, we can skip those steps that we don't allow other groups to skip.
I was just gonna say, Mary, did what was just reported out by Andrea and Beth, is that not the documentation that you would be looking for, or is there something different?
A copy and have that copy of their 501c3 and to have an opportunity to see what their 990 is and how they spend their money. I just am not comfortable treating them differently than we treat other organizations that come to us or other businesses that come to us wanting us to act on something that they want. I am just not comfortable. Personally, I'm not comfortable.
Yeah, no, I can totally appreciate that, Mary. Just a question, was this requested and they were able to produce it? Why? Can
I'm
someone
not sure what
provide?
requested. I'm sure when the Kiwanis fell through, it's been put on our agenda. I don't think anybody asked for all that documentation.
Right.
They just brought it to us.
So it was
My-
put on an agenda without a request to the entity for that background?
I'm assuming, Marcus, you want
Okay.
to answer that?
From my understanding, as part of the application to the state, there was justification needed to prove they were 501c3, including submitting financials and things of that nature. So I think that application to the Gaming Commission, required all the things I think Mary's speaking of now. But, this is just one of the steps that they, obviously must take according to the state, is getting the local authorization.
The policy that you referred to that we don't typically approve these gaming license, is that written down somewhere or is that?
It just says if they come
our
to us, the
policy.
board has chosen not to do so.
Because I don't remember another gaming license request in the past 3 years, but maybe I'm forgetting.
A lot of them we route to the county immediately.
Okay.
Because as was mentioned, there have been some that are somewhat questionable, and then of course some that people, know Kiwanis or whatever, but because of our policy in the past, we usually do route them to the county.
Okay.
But when is the county going to meet if they wanted to consider this?
Well, clearly this one is challenged by the time frame
Yeah.
in order to get it done. So that's it, I think put us in a little bit of a pickle.
You were planning that.
So I think it is, obviously we don't like to deviate from policy, given that this was a group that works closely with our parks. Get the flavor of the board and
Well, it's, if I may, I guess it's a policy by commission. And certainly we don't have a written policy on it, but it's by past practices. But and Andrea, question, when you looked at their registration, were their address in Delta Township? Did you have a chance to look at that?
No, I just
Okay,
pulled it up.
because why else would they be coming to us unless they were registered in Delta Township?
Right, they need a local government
Right.
where they're located.
Right.
I know.
And when I see 50-50, this to me is a fundraiser.
They're in Grand Ledge.
This is a fundraiser,
What's the
obviously.
address?
And I agree. I think there should be a minimum documentation to come before the board if we're going to consider. If our consideration is nobody, no way, no how, that's one thing. We can talk about this policy in the future, but it's unfortunate that they got ahead of the game on here and really didn't have all their T's crossed and I's dotted on this. So I think we can be criticized by not being consistent in this particular, even though it pains me, knowing the pickleballers. they've come before us, but I don't think we can show favoritism to one group just because, you know, we're a little bit more familiar with them and than others that we don't. So reluctantly, I agree with Madam Clerk on this.
Any other?
I had a question.
Karen? Yep.
So just because, so with the gaming license, does everything fall under it, like the item raffle, the 50-50, the auction? Is there any part of that that can be, that they can do? Need to know?
Not that I read. They're not gonna be able to do any of the stuff
Anything?
that they wanted to do. Mhm.
No, and it's just a 50-50. I mean, I know the advertisers may have the other things on there, but I met again with them last week. They're just looking to do the 50-50.
Just a question for Marcus. Marcus, did you explain to them this situation? That it's been our practice not to approve these? So
Yeah.
I just want to be clear on their
Yes,
expectation of this board tonight.
Yes, very much so, and they are aware, and they, you know, certainly, again, it's one component of the event. They are aware of the board's past practices and so on.
Well, unless somebody wants to make a motion, we'll table this item then. Anybody want to make a motion?
I'll move the table.
And the table, is there support?
Support.
There is support. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. Motion carries. Item is tabled. Move to the item of new business and item number 7, the request to appoint Peter Menzer as the zoning administrator.
I object, Supervisor Fletcher.
It's fine.
Okay, I move that the Delta Township Board appoint Community and Economic Development Director, Interim Planning Director, a lot of titles there, Peter Menzer as Delta Township Zoning Administrator. Further, the Township Clerk is hereby authorized to swear in Mr. Menzer.
Support.
Is that a question or you're raising to support Andrea?
Both, but that's fine.
Okay, we have
That can
motion
support it.
support.
Can I
Any
make
other,
a comment?
any other question? Sure.
I wanted to comment on the motion. I just wanted to say, I serve as the board's appointee on the zoning board of appeals and the sign board of appeals. And I know Peter has assisted in, deliberations we've had, and it's just been very beneficial. I wasn't aware originally of your strong planning background, but is really coming to, it's been very beneficial, your level of experience, and including on issues that have come before us as a full board. And really appreciate having that expertise, especially in Gary's absence. So I just wanted to convey that.
Great. Any other comments? And none, all those in favor, please say aye. All those opposed say nay. Motion carries. Item number 8, 2888 South Kreitz Road Special Land Use Permit Approval. It's a pleasure of the board on this one. And we have
I move that the Delta Township Board approve the special land use permit to establish a vehicle sales, leasing and service facility with an outdoor display and sales area as requested by Johnston's Enterprises LLC as described in case number PSL 2024 03, subject to the following conditions of approval, of which there are 4. Do I need to read those? Yeah,
as listed in the packet.
as listed in the packet.
Just for point of clarification, it has 2 3s and not 4.
Yeah.
Just so
Yes.
when it goes,
That's all.
we're actually approving 4 of them.
Right.
Are you
Support.
asking? Oh,
Bond to support it. Is there any discussion? See none? Oh, Beth, did you have? a
Did we
discussion?
get answers to the questions that we had the last time this came up?
Yeah.
Okay, speak to that.
Sure, go
Please.
ahead.
Yeah, hi. Yes, we got all that resolved. It was really just a simple miscommunication between our team members. That's been resolved. The project is the same that is depicted in the plans. The only thing that we've done a little bit differently is classify the review to include that outdoor display area and communicated that with the applicant. We're all set.
Wonderful.
This project will go through still the administrative site plan review process.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Any other comments? None, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. Motion carries. Item number 9, the waiver of the plat condition for Westland Park. What's the pleasure of the board on that one? Karen,
I move that the Dudley Township Board authorize the township supervisor and township clerk to sign the waiver of plat condition for Westland Park drafted by David E. Pearson, removing the plat condition prohibiting vehicular access to lot 8 and allowing right-in/right out access only for that same lot on Lansing Road.
Support.
it's been moved and supported. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. Motion carries. Manager's report, Brian.
Thank you, Mr. Supervisor and board members. Just a couple of things to update you on. Just keep your fingers crossed. Tomorrow we have our bond sale for the St. Joe water main and pathway. So I expect that will go through very well. If you have driven down St. Joe, our engineers have been busy staking that out. So it's very visible. Mary and Rick and our team have been working, as you saw, some of the communication on the letters to proactively communicate with residents along St. Joe, and we'll be putting stuff out to the general public as well. So try to keep people informed about that project as it moves along. I think we have a really good contractor. We had the pre-construction meeting last week and it went very well. So there'll be a lot of components to this project to stay on top of. Rick's water folks were busy today repairing a main break on Snow Road. It's kind of a challenging section there between St. Joe and the freeway. But thankfully that was fixed today. Just wanted to alert you to our Captain Ken Barnes is having a retirement open house Thursday, May 23rd over at the fire station. So Ken's been here a long time and a long time union president. So I've always really appreciated Ken's professionalism and has really been a great Delta employee for 23 years. So I'm sad to see him go, but happy for him as well.
Brian, what time is the open house?
3 to 5.
3 o'clock. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. And then last, speaking about the fire department, if you could keep them in your thoughts and everybody in Watertown, the Looking Glass for the horrific incident over this weekend. Very tragic scene. And you can read the news reports and now they're starting to announce names of victims and that type of thing. So very unfortunate, very tough scene for our crews to be on, but as always handled very professionally and with care. So that's all I have, Mr. Supervisor, but happy to answer any questions.
Any questions for Brian? Brian, I do have a question. There's been a couple of signs on Delta Center Cemetery. Looks like it's advertising grave tending services. Do we know why those signs are there for a couple of weeks now?
Where are they at?
Right on the cemetery on our property advertising.
On St. Joe?
Yes,
Hmm.
it's been there for 2 weeks now.
I was not aware of those, but I'll check into
Well, we
that.
have staff there every day in the cemetery, so they must have seen the signs there.
Yeah, I will check with them. I was not made aware. Thank you. Delta Center.
To the committee hall then, Brian, you have your annual report.
All right. Thank you. We have quite a few slides, but I promise we'll keep it quick. And I also promise I won't do every slide.
That'll speed it up.
You can go to the next one. I just
We're not
want
showing your office, that's the old part of the building, it's not the new part of the building.
She's showing the most important part.
Yeah. I just want to talk about our team real quick. Very very pleased with the manager's office and the team we have. So kind of divided up with 3 stalwarts and Mary and Dave and Erica, who have been with us for a long time. And then over the last year or two, we've added Wendy and Aaron and Peter, who have been great additions to our office. So on a lot of this stuff, we tag team, work very well with all the things that we have going on. It's always sometimes tough to create the synergy, but I feel like we're working towards that in the manager's office and have a very good team. So as I mentioned, almost everything that happens in the township is a team effort. The things that our office really provides are the strategic direction, coordination, oversight, and problem solving, and day-to-day operations. So that's right.
Hey, Brian, I'm sorry. What is a vacant? What's
Oh, I'm sorry, that's a department assistant position. So we had that filled earlier in the year. And that did not work out. So we've held off posting that position because we have some ideas on how to make that position, I guess, more effective. And also with some of our staffing issues, like in planning department, building department with new code enforcement officials, we're looking at this position to kind of help with some of that overlap to help out in those departments. So you'll probably see that position posted here soon in the into the future. That position used to be Mary years and years ago, and she's matriculated up to a lot of other duties.
Yeah.
So.
Thank you.
Yep, no problem. I won't belabor the challenges we've had, mostly just because of the workload. So whenever you have a lot of projects, a lot of things going on, there's costs and benefits to those. More projects, more problems that to deal with. So I think we work through those very well and continue with the strategic initiatives. So here we're going to go through, if you remember from our strategic plan, we had 3 key focus areas that we had developed a couple years ago. So we're going to go through each of the 3 of those, and starting off with the community vitality. And with that, I'll turn it over to Peter. Sure.
Okay, good evening. So for the last year, I've been serving as the Director of Community and Economic Development. I'm very proud of my role in the manager's office and excited to share kind of our year in review with you all. A lot of which is probably repeat because you've been living this for the last year, but I think it's still fair to kind of take stock of all the great things that happened in 2023. So major things have happened in the community. These are just a handful of the biggest of the big. Some of these are a long time coming, and some of them are kind of the beginning of a much bigger stretch of economic growth here in the community. Next. So a lot of activity in the community in generally. We had 26 new businesses that opened, and I think all of those are still open as of today. We've facilitated 12 grand openings just amongst our team. There are others that happened in the community. The Lansing Chamber also hosts those events. So we stay on top of all of them, or most of them at least. There were 9 new restaurants that opened in the year. We had 185,000 square feet of vacant space at the mall occupied. So that was the Best Furniture Outlet. It was Zap Zone. Well, those were the big ones. We had 65 million in significant store renovations. A big chunk of that was Farm Bureau, but Meijer and Walmart also did very significant interior renovations and some exterior renovations to their stores. And to me, what that means is, they are doubling down on being here for a long time. And then over 170,000 square feet of new industrial space. Some of that is still under construction. And in the next few months, you'll see even more come online so that we continue to see growth in our kind of industrial sector south of Mount Hope there. One of the bigger things that happened this year was the extension, although it is temporary for now, the extension of Route 3 from the mall out to really kind of Horrocks Marketplace Drive route out this way. It is seeing good ridership. And what the photos on the screen are for, some of you were there, with the ribbon cutting event or was from the launch of it, and there was a press conference related to that. But it has been doing well. Just in the last couple months, you've seen some of the stops. Now there are actual stop signs up and trash containers. And we work with CATA to make sure that those stops stay as clean as possible. So one issue we've run into are like shopping carts, they get left there. So we have a good relationship with CATA that if they get a notification of something going on, they can be out here within the day to pick stuff up and try to keep those looking great.
Hey, Peter, has there been any resolution to that whole transfer center at Walmart?
There hasn't. The only resolution I think, and I don't know if this is the last word on it, is that Walmart doesn't appear to be interested in participating in that. So they've made that clear in a couple different ways. So we need to talk as a team about how to best kind of what's the option two.
We are looking for another site west of the freeway.
Yeah, so hopefully we can find a transfer spot somewhere over there. And for those, if you don't remember, that's the construction of a shelter for because they're now, I mean, especially now that E-Tran has expanded, so we need a spot for that transfer to
We
happen.
do. Because there's a Grand Ledge connector now also,
Yeah.
so it's not just the Charlotte connector.
Of course, that's because people want to do business here in the township. They want to go to the good Walmart in Delta Township and not the other. Okay, grand opening. I gotta catch up to the slideshow. Grand openings, we had a lot of them. They went really well. They're always well received. It means a lot to the business owners and it means a lot to their staff. And it's a good opportunity for our team to meet everybody and get out to join them at the event. So we had a couple really big ones this year that were a lot of fun. So you can see on the screen kind of what those were, but really that's just a little, the background on those is meeting with the owners, getting notices out to our team, kind of planning the day of activities, coordinating with other local officials that might need to be there, coordinating with the chamber. Anything that we can do to kind of make that a big event for them, because it's really, most businesses, I don't have the stat, but you hear whatever, so many businesses fail within the first year, the first 5 years. We don't have a lot of tools in our box to help them. But one thing we can do is help them make a big splash when they do open here. So a lot of these end up really at our end being photo ops that we share on social media to try to get as many people aware of the new business as possible so that they can kind of take that momentum and run with it. One of the big ones this year was Meyer. They did $13 million renovation to the interior of the building and the facade. Really, the updates were to align it with updates they've made at other regional Meyer stores. And again, like I mentioned earlier, I mean, this is Meyer's, I take this as Meyer's recommitment to Delta Township. They've been here 57 years. I think with the money they put into the place, they're going to be here for that much longer. And it's a core component of the West Saginaw corridor. Walmart, same story, completely different interior. They located now a credit union within the store. They did a lot of work, kind of behind the scenes on all their shipping and all their, where you order online, and they got a whole business operation of how they've changed doing business at that store, but a lot of improvement there. Next, Farm Bureau. I think some of you were able to take the tour of Farm Bureau Insurance. And it's incredible. Their home is here in Delta. They've got just a huge facility, a ton of employees, and it is set up to thrive for a long time. Development District liquor license. This is something that came on the township's radar as the establishment, along with the establishment of the Corridor Improvement Authority. So in a nutshell, and it allows businesses in this community to access a different type of liquor license, but really it's akin to a Class C license like anywhere else for on-site consumption of alcohol. But it's a different way that they get there. And it's based on the investment in this community, the investment in their business and then the investment in this community along the corridor. So there are a certain number of thresholds that have to be met to qualify. They still do have to pay a fee to the MLCC. It's $20,000. It's, the equivalent between the investment in the business investment on the corridor and the application fee. It's closer to the equivalent of buying one on the market. But there's no number limit in this case. The number threshold is just limited how much investment there is in this community. So the stronger the economy in the community along the Saginaw corridor, the more of these opportunities will come along. So recent success stories are the only success stories, but we're Zap Zone and the venue. So both of those places now have alcohol permits and they're able to utilize those to grow their business. And we are working with more that will come your way in time. Amazon, probably talked a lot about Amazon, about $100 million facility. It's a huge site on 1 million square feet. They're going to employ up to 500 people. We just heard recently that it should be open by the end of June. So keep an eye on your inboxes for events related to that. And then, of course, they did also build and funded the pathway construction around the perimeter of their site, something we're going to see replicated in other commercial industrial developments in the township. Altium 3, again, talked a lot about it. $2.6 billion, 2.8 million square feet. It's a huge site, will employ a lot of people. What else is there to say? We don't even really, I think, know the extent to which that's going to impact the local economy and the regional economy. Improvements along the West Saginaw corridor. Before I came along, there were listening sessions with the corridor group with area businesses. We've seen a lot of redevelopment, hope to see more. I do like the typo here, struggling malls. It's kind of fun. Because it is true. But we continue to, the CIA is much more than I think than just a committee here in the township. It's kind of a vehicle for participation and touchstone with along our Saginaw corridor. So we're working with MDOT. They have a planned road project from the highway west to Broadbent. You're going to hear a lot more on that soon. That was it's the first couple of years of this group, so it's been challenging to get everything kind of spun up and producing. But I think we have a really strong CIA board, and we're going to see a lot of things flourish from that over time.
Peter, do you think we need 6 lanes of traffic there?
Do I think? I wouldn't be qualified to make a call like that.
Just asking for your personal.
Yeah. I think high-speed rail would look great on West Saginaw.
Yes.
And now I'm going to turn it over to Manager Reed.
All right. Again, it won't belabor a lot of this is pretty good review, but we spent a lot of time last year on the public safety facility bond. So you can see the fruits of that labor. So walls are going up right now. The fire truck grant was a big one. It actually has been, I think, in our last 3 annual reports because it's like forever to get. We'll take credit for it 3 years in a row.
Time for a trade-in.
Right.
It was a lot of money. That's okay.
Yeah. I do want to touch on the GM funding because we've talked about that and had specific presentations, but that has been a specific burden, especially on our utilities and engineering department, and specifically on Rick and now Jake. So even though it's a considerable amount of money, it's been divided up basically like 7 or 8 projects. And for the most part have gone well. Of course, the trials and tribulations of the Carrier Creek project was very stressful, but that's a big project. Once we are able to get through that, hopefully by the end of this year, is a big thing that comes off the plate. Which I'll be very happy to get that off, especially for Rick, because that's a lot of work. So I just want to recognize him and all of his folks and Jake as well, because I said there's a lot of nuances in those projects that come up from day to day. Go to the next one. In addition to some of the other projects, last year we worked very closely with Representative Whitwer to get some of these transformational projects. So we're in the process of designing the Willow Force Main. Hopefully that will go out to bid in a few months. And again, that's going to free up a lot of capacity for development on the west side. the Colt, and Waverly, or the Delta and Waverly partnership on the Colt. I really have to recognize Marcus and Aaron and, a couple other of our employees, Tammy Opdyke, who kind of manages a lot of our senior programming, and Corey in our Parks Department have done a great job working through that. So we have an important meeting coming up where we'll start to put some cost estimates to the design that I think we had in our communications a couple weeks ago. One of the kind of the hanging things, the $17 million for road improvements. So that's going to be over the next couple years. There is dollars in there for us to improve some water main in that area. However, it's kind of last priority in that funding. So we're hoping that bids come in good on the road work. So we're able to utilize some of those funds still. So other than that, it's through the Eden County Road Commission. So we don't have a lot to do with those, but that's Davis Highway, Millet and Nixon that will be redone with that. And then we talked about at the last meeting, the $3 million from the feds.
I have a question.
Sure.
All of the reporting that has to go on back to the federal government or the state government for all these grants and appropriations and that sort of thing. Does your office handle all of that?
That's a good question. So in some avenues we do, I would say, and probably 80 or 90% of it, it's Courtney in her office. I really appreciate you bringing that up, trustee, because that's another person who really needs to be recognized. So with these extra projects and I think I touched on that in our in my self-evaluation, especially the WRF and the GM projects, there's a lot of reporting that goes on. And that's a really added burden on Courtney. And that's not just something that you can kind of throw anybody at. They have to really understand the project. We provide some support on that. Now, some of our other ones like Aaron has been taking the lead on that. And our directors, there's a lot of different things that go into the pay apps, and it really is a team effort. But I'd say Courtney does a lion's share of the direct reporting with these agencies.
With
and-
grants too?
Yeah.
DNR grants and all that? For our parks?
Yeah, ultimately, but yeah, Marcus, at least like with the DNR grants, we're pretty accustomed to those. So Marcus's staff will have a lot of those prepared. But yeah, Courtney does oversee a lot of those reporting requirements. So even you wouldn't think about it, but like the fire truck, and I joke about 3 years, but that's a lot of reporting for not getting any money and having to make sure that we, stay up on those reports. And now even the Eden County Parks Grant, you have kind of quarterly reporting on those. So it is a lot, but it's worth it to bring in the extra funds for the township. The opioid dollars, Mary helps, Courtney does that, but those are not a lot of funds, but another thing to kind of manage and reporting. So with that, I'll turn it over to Aaron.
It's actually a really nice segue because some of the revenue discussion was talking about projects that were partnerships. And so, of course, we don't operate in a bubble. We're part of a bigger region and we have a lot of partners that we work with. We have a lot of established relationships with our county and other neighboring municipalities that require not just when you have a project, you get together, but you have regular coordinated meetings. So we meet frequently with the Road Commission, the Drain Commission, the state on a periodic basis, MDOT, pretty regularly, Lansing Township. And we really work to continue to build those relationships because that's how you get those good regional projects to happen, is if you have good coordination. And then, of course, on the next slide, we talk about some of the partnerships we've had with our schools, which has been a really phenomenal thing that has been beneficial because we've had things like the pool
that we can have this long-term agreement with Waverly to have pool facilities for our residents. New Colt Elementary partnership is going to be big, and I won't sit and read the whole list, but but there's been a lot of really great projects that we've had with our schools as well that have provided a lot of benefit to our community that otherwise wouldn't be available trying to go it alone. So that's it.
So we've done, well, this last year, we really put a lot of effort into that bond, bringing it back to the voters and the community communication was really key with that, the multi-platform. A lot of that project, obviously you're seeing ongoing across the street. We got great things happening. Our temporary building is very secure. We're able to work with the public. Even though we don't have walk-in traffic over there or walk-in facilities, we're able to facilitate a lot of the services still by having deputies come directly to our public as we continue with this project.
And speaking about communication, so in August, of course, we've been pretty fortunate. We haven't had a lot of emergency situations over the years, but the August storm was one that affected a lot of people. So I think our township team responded pretty well. I thank Mary for her expertise with communications and social media. I really appreciate the board's guidance on that. Many of you haven't been through the ice storm and helping to nudge us for things to make sure to notify the community. Have to recognize Dave as well on that because he's got a good mind for those types of things. So sometimes we get, consumed with our response and working with BWL or that type of thing. And you learn the most important thing is to keep pushing out information so that the public knows, even if there's not a big update, everybody wants to know when their power's coming back on. And it's a challenging situation when you don't really have an answer, but you just try to keep getting as much information as possible. We had a couple unexpected emergencies, the Carrier Creek project that we worked through, the Millet Tower, if you remember that was an unexpected thing. But again, I have to say with our utilities, the amount of work that we put into preventative maintenance and stuff really prevented a catastrophe with that project and identifying that and being able to make emergency repairs on that tower.
Brian, just a question regarding the storm. I know you shared with all of the board previously that the township was applying for reimbursement for some of the insurance deductible things, uncovered expenses. Any update on the status of the, I don't recall what the timing was for reimbursement, but any updates there?
Sure. We only made one insurance claim, which was to the for our enrichment center. So we did have a new roof put on, the good part of it. In fact, we're gonna just finish up the last remaining portion of that, which is some interior painting and ceiling tiles and that type of thing, which Aaron just put across my desk today. So that was really the only insurance claim. All of our other emergency costs were packaged in with everybody in the region for an application to FEMA. That was denied, and now we're applying with the region to the state. I have not heard anything recently on how that will go.
I don't think I realized it was packaged as a region, but thanks for that update.
Well, yeah, I guess we are all pooling it together. And so we could receive full funding, we could receive partial funding or no funding at all, which is probably the most likely in this case, but
Okay.
we're very fortunate. I think our out-of-pocket costs, I can't remember now off the top of my head, but I think it was around $160,000. That's, another reason to keep a healthy fund balance so we can respond to emergencies when needed.
Thank you.
No problem. Parks and pathways, just highlighting a couple of these projects. Again, these, take up a considerable amount of time, but I'm very excited for the St. Joe Water Main and Pathway project. I mean, it's gonna clear a major infrastructure issue on St. Joe. And then also to have that pathway on that busy of a road, I think is gonna be a significant benefit for the community. And then we continue with our other parks and pathway projects, which we are well documented. Just want to talk about a couple of the unique projects we had, which some of these we haven't necessarily talked about over and over. But last year seems like forever ago, but we did have the establishment of a part-time library union and negotiated the first contract. So you'll get to hear when we get to HR, you'll hear some from Wendy, Yanni, but for a newer employee to step in, and she handled all the negotiations on that, and really did a nice job kind of leading those efforts in that. And I think that the contract has worked out good, and we're, kind of business as usual in the library. We did have the administration building project, so we created more counter space for the clerks, plus some efficiency and storage, which was a big component of that project. We also created the additional workspace in the manager's office. This building is old. It has a lot of needs. So I would expect after we clear some of these other bigger projects off, we will start addressing some other portions of the building. We are basement waterproofing is starting as we speak right now. But we just have some other areas to address. But these building projects in old building take up a lot of time and effort. We had the presentation on the sewer capacity. We also had the contract with Safe Build to provide backup, which is very helpful for things like Altium. It will be helpful also for the BWL improvements as well. And I think a big credit to our staff was our coordination, multi-year coordination with the road commission to get them to include the pathway across the Webster Bridge, and you only get one crack at that every 75 years. So I think that's something that we can really hang our hat on, especially as we get more funding for the Delta Mills to Hawk Meadow pathway. That's going to be a really classic pathway for the township. That'll turn it over to Mary again.
So the community connectedness portion of our presentation here, really at the heart of our community connectiveness is our strong and effective communications and fostering a sense of belonging and pride in our township. A lot of the work that we do focuses on engaging the community, not just through our really amazing events, but through engagement in public input sessions, like our non-motorized plan, our grant funding opportunities, and of course, the millage that we recently passed, and opportunities to highlight the positive impacts that are being made by members of our own community. Our public communications, we have really grown, not just this year, but over the last 10 years here. Since 2015, the manager's office has worked to create a culture of multi-directional communication, not only with the public, but internally with employees, and then also with our board members, our numerous public and private partners, which there are so many. We continue with our multi-platform approach for sharing vital information, including our social media page, which has grown over 14,000. When I first started, we had about 3,500. So we've increased by over 10,000 people that are following our social media pages here. For the last 5 years, we've received over 325 unique visits annually to our website. So if you extrapolate that out, that's almost every single person in our township visiting our website at least 10 times a year. So that's pretty amazing hits for that. We relay important and timely information for special projects and emergent situations. That really has come into play with the information that we put out during the storm. That was crucial to our local residents, not only for the people living here, but the people that are traveling through our township. We had a lot of roadways and pathways that were just impassable for many days, and keeping that information out there and fresh as we got things cleared, and making sure that our residents were aware of the debris drop-off location was pivotal. I'm proud to say that over the last 9 years, we have grown from just 1 publication to 8 publications that we do on a regular basis. We have 6 digital publications and 2 print publications that we do throughout the year. Our senior newsletter, our recycling newsletter, and our creating community, which is our Parks and Rec newsletter, are cultivated by our Parks and Recreation Department. They do a wonderful job in getting information out about our programming and athletics, as well as senior programming. We have 2 internal communications pieces, our Manager's Minute, which you all receive on a weekly basis, and our wellness newsletter, which comes out once a month, that's aimed at our employees. And then our Talk of the Township, which is our monthly newsletter that we send out from the manager's office, really focuses on things that are happening currently and things that are going to be happening in the future. Our Delta magazine, we produce that 4 times a year. That is also produced in our Parks and Recreation Department. And Kathy does a wonderful job. That really does focus on our programming and all of the wonderful things that they do with athletics here in the township. And our Delta Now really focuses on it's more like a digest of the last 6 months. And then we do highlight stuff that's coming up in the immediate future on that. We did have a postcard mailer that was really helpful in helping us to get our millage passed this year. That went to over 16,000 people. So we've produced 107 publications in this last year to our community.
Hey, Mayor, before you move on, I
Yep.
just want to note that I hear a lot of compliments from residents, to those who pay attention, that, you know, how much we communicate, that they have voiced a lot of, you know, gratitude for all the publications we're sending out and the efforts that we make to keep them informed and stuff. And even in cases where people have complained that they didn't know about something, after it's been pointed out all the different times and places that we have sent stuff directly to their homes and stuff, they've all kind of been a little embarrassed that you know, that they didn't notice it after so much communication. So I just want to commend the work that has been done on, you know, really stepping up the engagement of the public in terms of putting out information.
Yes, and we've really tried to not only increase our publications, but our social media presence. That is something that over the last year, we have really increased our social media posts, not only for general information, but for emergent information, including projects like Carrier Creek. Even though it wasn't our project, the Waverly Railroad issue, where we were having a lot of inquiries about what was going on with that. So we've really hit hard the social media, and even our emailed alerts are increasing. So
You've done a lot over the past year, we've had just monumental election law changes, and Dave and Mary have done a phenomenal job. Me texting them and saying, can you put a blast out about blah or blah? Because we're not getting a response that we thought we were gonna get for something or that, and it's been helpful and it's not gone unnoticed. I may not say thank you often enough, but I'll thank you now.
We've utilized our email service in a very unique way this year because of elections, to get information out to our voters in general, but Mary has been able to give us lists to get information out to those particular voters that have not turned in their absentee ballots to make sure that we're getting a better return rate on absentee ballots. So we've grown our list by over 3,500 people alone this year because of that.
I was just gonna echo what's been said. I received so many compliments about our communication. The social media posts, I always try to share them. And then I hear from people who are not living in our area who say, I'm coming out to Delta Township to go to that event or apply for that job that's posted. So I really appreciate all that you do. And in fact, I was in the doctor's office last week and this gentleman said, I know you. And I was racking my brain. I'm like, I don't know who this man is. I don't know because we've met. I'm like, I don't remember. And then he paused for a second and he said, you're in that magazine in Delta Township, that great magazine that I get all the time. That's you. So I appreciate you. And I think our residents do as well.
Wonderful. Well, it's a passion of mine, so it's a love for me. Our special proclamations this year, I'm not gonna spend too much time in that, but we've gone out of our way to really update and include a lot of special notices, including, you know, our retirements of beloved employees who've been here a long time. The 20-year Jasmine Miles proclamation was pretty special. And of course, our regular MLK and Small Business Saturday proclamations that we do every year. And then our special presentations, up to and including information about infrastructure, major infrastructure projects, transportation initiatives, housing, and recognition of our emergency response efforts. We've really tried to make sure that not only our community, but our board is well informed about things that are happening in our community. Again, we touched on social media enhancements. This is just a small smattering of the posts that we've done this year. And I didn't get a chance to go through this year like I did last year with the number of posts, but I'm guessing that we're significantly more. I know that we're probably making a post 3 or 4 days a week, which is a significant increase from what we were doing in the past. Boy, everybody's favorite topic. We continue to trend upwards in FOIA. This year, we had another record year with 130 total requests. We're still trending with building and property information being our #1 request. Lots of movement on property, so sales of properties really drive that. We've been very responsive to FOIAs that come in that may not be as clear or as well mapped out. We contact those people and we really get them to refine their FOIAs. And so we have really had a decrease in the number of FOIAs that we've denied, that so that they can bring back the information we really are digging for and looking for. And we only had 1 abandoned FOIA this last year, which is significant. In the past there, 5 or 6 people just submit it and then forget about it if they can't refine it. So some good numbers there. Now we're moving into a diverse population.
So one of our goals as a community is to encourage diversity in our population. So anything from your ethnic background to your religious background, socioeconomic status, those are all all those varying perspectives make us a richer and more vibrant community. And so as a municipality, we're somewhat limited in the tools that we have available to do that, but it is still a goal of ours. Some of the things we've done this past year to help that is some of our housing grant programs that we've initiated to help foster those conversations. We're working on reimagining our code enforcement process to make sure that we're being responsive in an equitable sort of way. And then collaborating on, as we've already mentioned, a lot of our public transportation efforts to help encourage access to all of the great facilities that we have here in the community.
Infrastructure, we'll spend very little time on since we have spent so much time over that, but I just, again, this is really a team effort, of course, engineering and utilities, but very happy to have Erin on board with her expertise to be able to sit in, because I can't always make every meeting. So when you do run into problems, that type of thing, it's helpful to have somebody else. Some of the improvements we've made, we do have some improvements to our GIS system, which we'll have a presentation upcoming to the board at some point on that. And also we've utilized our drone and some stationary cameras on some of our projects. So it gives good footage, not only to share with the public, but it's also come in handy for a couple other things, and also helps us monitor projects when we're not able to get out in the field. So just utilizing additional tools is very helpful. And then so we've talked about some of these key facility improvements. So with that, turn it over to
Right, I just wanted to make
oh,
a
sure.
comment about infrastructure. I mean, we've said this over and over again, infrastructure is not the sexy thing that brings out the reporters and gets people excited, but clean water, cleaning our wastewater before we put it back into our environment is so very important. And I think that what we have done in the township and what we continue to do has been recognized, you know, with the governor's visit to our wastewater recovery facility. So there's going on right now, as you said.
Speaking of facility improvements.
taking clean water out of the basement and sending it to Rick.
So I think, you know, our celebrity Rick and all the photos with the governor and just, you know, the attention that we've gotten on these projects. When I tell people that we have mapped all of our pipes in the township, they're like, wow, really? And they want to know more about it. So, you know, it can be interesting and exciting. And so I just want to say that I am very proud of all the things that we do in infrastructure, even if it's not, you know, parks and stuff.
Sounds good. Thank you for that as well. Well stated. So yeah, with that, I'll turn this over to Human Resources.
I'll kick us off. So most people have a general concept of what human resources does, but we're assisting all the departments with recruitment and hiring, managing our benefits programs for all our employees, classification, compensation, payroll, any workers' compensation claims, and then our labor relations for our two unions, our part-time library union, and then obviously our firefighter union is our major union here. So at a glance, some of those you know, kind of digging into what some of those kind of look like, you know, recruitment and hiring. It's, you know, everything from helping craft a really attractive job posting to conducting all the interviews, going through the screening process, finding that great candidate and then onboarding them. And then of course, keeping them here. So what support we can offer to the various departments to help ensure that the training and ongoing support for those staff members is available and keeping them excited to continue working here. Benefits is, you know, managing all of our various benefits programs as part of that recruitment and retention process. Having an attractive benefits package means people want to continue working here. And so just administering those, paying the bills, those somewhat mundane day-to-day tasks that are important to get done. Payroll, making sure that everybody's being paid accurately, very important job. Cannot be understated. Labor relations, any sort of disciplinary actions that have to involve any union personnel. We do have a 6-year contract with our fire union, so that will hopefully help keep our labor relations on a very positive note for a period of time. Dealing with any workers' compensation issues, especially if we have a claim that, involves MIOSHA, making sure that we're compliant with any requirements there. And then just making sure as we go through that our job descriptions are routinely reviewed, making sure they're up to date, reflect the current position, and that the wages are being compensated competitively with, surrounding municipalities for similar work. Over the last year, as we mentioned, we have the new library contract. We hired some new positions. We added, this is for 2024, but we added 2 additional positions because we do have a number of retirements coming up in our fire department. And so we're just sort of pre-planning by getting some of those people onboarded now. And that way, when that vacancy occurs, we don't actually have to recruit and hire someone, because recruiting and hiring takes a lot of time. During our open enrollment process at the end of 2023, we created an online system so that instead of filling out a bunch of paper forms, people could go in online, click it all. It streamlined it both for the end user that was doing the enrollment and making their selections, and it also streamlined it for on the back end, because now all that data was input. And so Wendy gets a huge credit for working with our insurance provider to get that platform up and rolling. And we received great feedback from staff that they really appreciated seeing what benefits were available. I think it opened a lot of people's eyes to the various opportunities that they have for different benefits here at the township. We've just been working, Wendy and I, to sort of streamline and operationalize, if that's a word, some of our HR processes to make them more efficient. And that's been the big focus for this past year and into this current year. Wendy?
So we had a lot of hiring done in 2023. Most came from the fire department. So there was 11, we had 11 hires. But across the board that we had, just about every department, we had at least, one opportunity. So that, some of that has to do, we've had, some retirements, we've had some shiftings of jobs. And so, but those are pretty good numbers. They keep trending up. So we are growing. So this, as far as retention, I think it's important to note that, we have a lot of long-term employees here, which speaks to, working at Delta, people want to stay. Benefits are great. They love the community that they work for. Me personally working here, being able to interact with the other departments, work collaboratively, is a wonderful environment. And it's one that it carries a lot of weight. I think when you can get the support that you need, I think great things can happen. So, we do have that first, 5 years or less, we have a bulk, but then it kind of trends up. We have, 13 employees that have been here over 25 years. And I think that's significant. So last year, we did training. We had the DEI training. We had that. We had the employee retreat that we did the DEI training. We had several BSNA opportunities, and then we did our usual, we did the substance abuse, sexual harassment, problem solving, and ethics. We are currently developing a new training program to go out to kind of try to streamline some things, using one of our insurance carriers to kind of help, some more engagement training opportunities. And then workers' compensation. So if you notice, we do have, there was a spike in days lost for 2023, but I think it's important to note that that was from 2 fire department claims that equaled 306 days. So when you take that into account, we're trending down as far as the number of related injuries, we definitely, you know, if you look, we're trending down as well. That's it. You're up.
All right, out of that good stuff, IT. Biggest project, I think, well, there was two big projects, probably the biggest one, the ubiquity access control. So I changed up everybody's key fobs and whatnot, and how you get into the building. It's really awesome how it works on the back end for those of us that have to administer the program. So, and that was put here at Township Hall, Station 1 and Station 3. And it will be far more easier to expand the system if we ever wanted to, you know, have it grow in the future. We got MetroNet installed at the wharf. For both fiber connectivity back to this building, as well as some internet service that's gonna help Rick with his SCADA stuff. We also moved into that new control building, so we had to move all the IT equipment out of the old and put it and hook it up into the new. Smart office, we had them come out and install similar to this room in their EOC room. So you know, that's another spot where we could do, you know, board meetings or anything we want to do, training that they're using over there. Some really good technology in there. The other big thing is implementing PZ&E, so planning, zoning, and engineering to help document our planning processes and to help route them through in a more uniform manner within our building.net program, which, you know, is BSNA and it's used in every department. So getting that information in there will it'll be a lot easier to retrieve records. It'll be a lot easier to look things up for those who aren't super familiar with maybe a planning process, but are curious as to where we're at in the planning process. So it's a good module that's, you know, that 3 departments are now using. So good stuff. We put an online right away permitting, helped engineering out with that. Last on this slide, we installed a camera over at the library on a new ballot drop box. So,
But Dave, that's from here going forward, right? I mean, that's from here going forward, the implementation of that. It's
the
not,
PZ&E.
it's not, yeah, it's not documenting stuff put in the system from prior.
Oh, right. It's just it's putting it's filing it in a more intelligent way. So before, so think about it. So before it was a folder structure. Hey, Dave Marquette's working on this project. I just kind of throw everything into the folder.
Yeah.
Now we route it through the system, kind of very similar to that we do our permitting process down. So a permit comes in and there's a whole bunch of steps and it puts some logic into the planning process instead of just relying on the one planner, you know, to document all that project.
Got it. Thank you.
So yep. We installed copiers here at Township Hall in Station 1. That happens about every 5 years. We got a camera up on top of the building that's watching the new sheriff's annex go up. Implemented some Meraki mobile device management, which is not really exciting for you, but it is for me. So help me keep track of you know, those things that can walk off. Helped Wendy out with that ease portal. Really, she did most of it, but again, that thing is really awesome for open enrollment. And what you didn't mention though is it's also very helpful for onboarding when people do come on board to the township as well. So assisted library market implementation for the library room reservations and events. So the way that we can sign up for a room to be used at the library. We have these hold lockers if you've been out to the library where kind of like if you go to Lowe's and they could put your stuff in a locker. Well, the library can do the same thing where you can come and just walk up and take that, whatever you're renting from the library out. We had to upgrade some computers to manage that. Helped out with the building remodel, cleaned up a bunch of stuff in the engineering map room and their cage downstairs. And here's kind of the cool stuff, the stats, as an IT staff, there's a whole 2 of us and we responded to 759 IT help desks requests, I'd like to think most of that stuff's documented, but give or take a few, that might not have got right into that system. Most of you are familiar with our cybersecurity training. The cool stats on that is this year past year, I sent out over 4,200 phish test emails. And so I'm trying to get you to click on bad links. And that only happened 72 times. So that's pretty good. So we're 2.5% phish prone. But the industry average is almost 20%. So we're doing very good. So hopefully we can keep the bad guys out
They're those same culprits that keep failing.
There's a
It's
couple.
not, it's not.
There's a few of them, but.
What's his name on that list?
Yeah. It's good stuff. So, with that is a training component too, and we've had 317 cybersecurity training hours. And users also have the option of alerting, me to potentially, bad phishing emails, and that happened almost, 2,500 times. So very cool. So people are, everybody is participating in our cybersecurity, and that's a good thing. That's gonna help keep us protected.
I'm surprised anybody opens the email from you anymore.
It not look like it's from me. So, yeah.
Some of them are so obvious that even I
Well,
know.
yeah, they are, but I still rarely have a campaign that doesn't go unclicked.
Oh my gosh.
So, Zscaler, something you guys definitely don't notice, but I do route all of our internet traffic out, through servers, through the Zscaler network, and they blocked 2.1 million bad URL requests. Now, not necessarily, it's not necessarily something super bad, but again, it could potentially be something that could affect the township. So it's good that we, invest in that and inspect all of our outgoing traffic, so. And then background and groundwork for our change to BSNA Cloud, July 15th. It will be a monumental day here at the township this year. That's when we move from BSNA living in our basement here to it living in the cloud. And there's a lot of cool enhancements, and we'll cover all of that at another time, but that is going to happen July 15th, so.
Will there
I'm
be
very
ribbon
excited
cutting?
about that.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
What's that?
Will there
Ribbon
be
cutting?
ribbon cutting?
That'd be kind of cool. It'd be very nerdy, but I think it's gonna. Get the clouds or, stuff.
You've not been in the basement.
You don't have to do it.
That's good stuff. I think that's all I got, right, Mary?
Yeah.
So if any questions about IT, I could certainly answer them. If not,
Good
thank you
stuff.
very much for your time.
Thank you.
All questions now?
Yeah, that's overall, I just like I said, I just want to thank my staff because it can be very chaotic in the manager's office, a lot going on with projects, personnel issues, but I think we really, Aaron and Wendy have done a great job stabilizing our, day-to-day HR. And it's so we had Linda for a long time, so there's a lot of processes that needed to be updated. Not that she didn't do a good job, but whenever we have employees leave after many, many years or decades, it's a lot of updates. So people have been very happy having Peter on board. And of course, I mentioned Dave and Erica and Mary continue to do great work, but I really appreciate the work that they do because it's allowing us to branch into other things and help put some focus on areas that maybe needed some more focus, like code enforcement and our development process with building and planning and that type of thing. So,
I just have
but-
one question.
sure.
I forgot to ask this earlier when Wendy was doing a great presentation. And you mentioned Linda, that reminded me, she would send out job openings to various organizations that are people of color.
Yeah.
Is that still doing, are you working with organizations to
Yes, we certainly
continue
are.
that outreach?
Yes, we absolutely are.
Excellent.
We've actually been we've expanded and trying to reach as many people as possible to give, opportunities.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
And I'd just like to say that with the automation of planning, building, those kinds of things, with the benefit automation, with the streamlining of the HR, that is a really crucial component to succession planning. And I'm really pleased to see it and to know that we are capturing that knowledge and not to make people obsolete by any means, but to provide that continuity because, we all know we're not going to be here forever. So it's good that the knowledge will stay and help people in the future. So thank you for that.
Any other comments, questions from anybody on the board? Seeing none. Well, thank you, Brian. We appreciate the report. And obviously, everybody else too who contributed to the report. Great report, a lot of great report.
Thank you.
We do have a closed session tonight, but before we go into that, any final public comment from the audience here before we go into the closed session? you'd like to speak this evening? Any final board comments people would like to make before we go?
I think, Will, did you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah. I wanted to say hi to everybody. I'm Will Bank. I just came in here from Cincinnati. I'm the new Fox 47 neighborhood reporter. So if you see an email from me, it's not a faceless face. It's me right here. Yeah, just hi and hello.
Thank you. Appreciate
Well, not
it.
a
Karen.
fishing attempt.
The motion to go into closed session would be in order.
Did you want to take your picture with the award before you go into closed session or
We're
afterwards?
supposed to do that today,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Let's do it.
Okay.
We were.
So, well, can we have the vote first on the?
Oh, yeah.
Sorry. Oh, you want I
Yeah.
move that the Delta Township Board convene in closed session at the request of the township manager under the Open Meetings Act, Act 267 of 1976, Section 15.268A, to consider a periodic personnel evaluation of Brian T. Reed, Township Manager.
There's support, Any discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, say nay. Motion carries. We are in closed session. Yeah, that form, we're gonna send it.
Oh, Peter has it.
Yeah.
No.
Yep,
no.
yep.
Wendy. We're close enough.
Open session and seeing no further business before us, we are adjourned.
Freezing.
It's kind of silly to do that.
Outside, it's